We're going to get started with this Honkai Impact 3rd video that I decided to record. I guess a quick 30-second sell of what this game is if someone's coming across here for the first time. It's a free-to-play mobile game that has a PC client. It's also both on Android, iOS, that usual ducket. Free-to-play, gacha-based game, action RPG. It's pretty fun, easy to pick up, quick like 10-minute sit down, or if you want to sink your teeth into it for a few hours, pretty easy to do so. I've been playing the game about since December 2019. I dabbled in it for a day back in 2018. Didn't catch then just because I wasn't really into wanting to play an action RPG, but things have changed and I found myself playing this quite a bit these days. So I learned a fair few things out of experience, watching other YouTube videos, chatting with some people, do some Googling, and figured I'd try and compile a bunch of this into one long-ass video. So got a little agenda of stuff to go over, and we're going to kind of cover a little bit of everything in the UI, and I guess peel back the layers because at first glance it's easy to miss a lot of little details, so I figured I'd highlight some of that. Take with what you will with that info. This, I guess you could say, is more aimed towards like a newer player or someone in the intermediate stage trying to step their game up, but as you can see, maybe I'm only level 76. I'm not really at the true end game yet, so I don't have a lot of end game experience for you yet. Maybe that'll come, who knows. Alright, so first things first, get my notepad ready here. We're going to go over the profile section located in the top corner here where my balding forehead is hiding everything at. So in here you got a lot of information. You're going to have your captain, name, a little message, badges, who your leader character is. That's pretty important. So let's start with that. Changing your leader is located in the corner here. You click on that, manual select, pick who you want out of your immense lineup of Valkyrie waifus to work with. Once you have selected it, hit select. If you want to see what your leader is, you'll find it under skills, and then leader. You can read the details about it there. Next, customizing your badge. This will be kind of seen anywhere there's a chat log, including your profile image. So here you can pick from all the different Valkyries and even some of the other characters, NPCs. You can also change the frame, so most people default will be frameless, and then there are certain events you can do to unlock other frames. So this is where you would go to pick it. Currently locked ones, you can at least see where to get them from. Like for example, unlocking Paladin BattlePass in Season 3. So Season 3 is a long time ago, we'll be able to get this, but yeah, just informative. Next, the emblem. That's this little thing here. Is just that. It's an emblem. It's important to pick because it gives you little buffs. So you basically, back in the profile, just click on the image and click change. And then you can choose from the ones you have. So this is from like the second year anniversary. This one was a pay for. This one was an event. And this is also an event doing the Q-Singularis and Sea of Quantum stuff. So once you've selected that based on what bonuses you want from it, then you have a little bit more info over here. Actually, down below you have all this content you've unlocked throughout the game. CG's, weapons, Stigmatas, emblems, and achievements. This is where you would go to claim your achievement rewards once you've completed them. Then you have editing your name, editing your info, which is just this little message here. By default, when you create your account, you're just going to be player and then your ID number. Change that when you can. It's kind of annoying. So just click it, change it to whatever you like. And then edit info is just to leave, you know, whatever little profile message you want over here. Not necessary, doesn't give you anything, but Now you know where to find it. Okay, up here you have the account info. So here's where you'll be able to have a MiHoYo account created, and then if you're on Android, your Gmail account will likely be listed here, or whatever email account your iOS profile is linked to. One thing that's worth noting, it's worth going to set up a MiHoYo account, because if you create it on mobile, it'll be linked to your Gmail or your iOS. Create a MiHoYo account and then link the two, so then if that way there you decide to play on the PC client, you would log in as a MiHoYo account here. But if you do the opposite, you can link your Android or iOS profile to the MiHoYo account you would have created for the PC client. And the other more important detail is the exchange rewards. So MiHoYo sometimes throws these events up on Facebook and other social media, and if you participate, you can get promotion or reward codes here. So this is where you go to claim it. Didn't know that for the longest time. Then you have profile tab, just flaunting what you got. Pick your Valkyries, pick your elf. We'll talk about that later. Pick your emblems. Look, you can have 2. Huzzah. And then message board. It's pretty jank, to be honest. You can't have too many characters. It is what it is. That's kind of about it for the player section here. Next, we're going to talk about these tabs over here on the left-hand side. You got missions, events, bonuses, mailbox, news, LTO. First, we're going to talk about missions. So these are sort of like your daily missions, and they're pretty much done by playing the game. It's strongly recommended, depending on how active you plan on being. Very active. Try to do them all. As you can see, I've completed all of mine. Got some commissions to do still that I can get done, but other than that, I've done all my other ones here. So a lot of the times you just got to do, say, 5 stories, do some commissions within the Armada, do the quiz, you just hit go, collect coins from your dorm. If possible, try to do adventure quests or adventure tasks, co-op raids, Memorial Arena, Infinity Abyss, which we'll talk about all of those a little later. Do your weekly bounty marks, which we'll also touch on later. And then there's this thing called Maze Lunch and Dinner, which comes around like mid-afternoon and dinner time, East Coast time. And basically it's just free energy. That's it. They just come around that times. So up at the top here, you'll see that there is a story thing, and I've completed a lot of it, if not pretty much all of it. But each one of these is just by playing through the story. Can't really even click on any of them to show you what I mean. But basically, they're going to have a lot of just, have at least 3S Valkyries and other types of criteria down here, and then the rewards you get for it. So, depending on how much you want to work on it, you just have a look in here, see what you currently are at, and then try to accomplish that in your next mission that you decide to play, and you just get free stuff along the way. Next we have the BP rewards and BP missions. So BP missions are just missions you can try to do for the most part once a week. You just by accomplishing defeating an SS rank boss, 20 ultimates, 5 co-op likes, spend 500 stamina. Just play the game. That's pretty much how you do them. It rewards you with lots of battle point XP, which goes up into battle point rewards. This section here is, as you can see, kind of like a typical battle pass found in a lot of games, mobile games mostly, but some mainstream stuff like from EA, of course. And it just gives you rewards. The top one is by default everybody gets it, and then you just play the game. You get battle points and all, or battle point XP, pretty much everything you do, and you just get free stuff along the way. The bottom tier here, much like a regular battle pass, is for the people who pay for it. And you just get a whole bunch more stuff. Tend to be high value items. Sometimes you get rare outfits, piles of coin, or piles of crystals rather, S rank bounties, and lots more. Then a whole bunch of extra battle point works points. Then basically all these battle points are accruing need to be spent somewhere. It's another type of currency. You find that located here in Elite Works. So Elite Works costs these spheres. What the heck do they call them? Lucian spheres. You basically get those through some quests or some mission rewards and some events, and primarily in the battle pass. So it takes you a while to accrue them, but basically these battle passes like a month and a half or more, or 2 months. You can get some pretty sweet rewards for a fair amount of these Lucian orbs. So like Keys of the Void, for example, top tier gear, Blood of Embrace, Void Blade, etc. And then you can also get some high-end Stigmatas located here. The BP store is where you spend basically the bulk of your rest of the battle points you've accrued. You can get these elf gachas, some Valkyrie gachas, supply cards, Major Willpower Mind Stone, SS Imaginon, and Times Royal. You get a bunch of stuff in here. It's basically play the game, get free stuff from the battle pass that you have, get the points from the battle pass and completing stuff, and then just spend it here. It's literally just free stuff. Game does that a lot. So that pretty much covers everything for the mission section. So might have been a couple of things in there you weren't really familiar with. Events is another really important section. Now this is going to change constantly every week and a half. There's like a new event, or 2 weeks sometimes. Some of them last longer than that. Basically pop in here, have a look at what there is. For example, Thundering Echo. Do your very best, depending on how much you want to play, to try and complete as many of these possible. As you can see, crystals, crystals, crystals. Got some gold pins here, whole piles of rewards. And most of the time they're trivial. Just go clear this stage once. Play the game, get rewards. You'll find that a lot. This one here is basically once you log in, claim it, done. Cast 2 ultimates, done. You do that in one mission. Spend 120 stamina. That's, just play the game a bunch. You get the tickets, you get the rewards, and then you can basically play the mini games. And as you can see, it just gives more rewards over here. Check your events, play the games, just get free stuff. This one here is basically like a preview for upcoming content. And this one is just one that opens up, do the task, close, that's it. But still, it's pretty important to go in here, check this out, and just try to do them as often as possible. You can get some rewards in there that are only possible to get there. For example, when one of the Teresa Valkyries came out a month and some ago, you could pretty much just get the character for free by playing the missions, doing the events daily. After about a week worth of just playing the game, free Valk suit, S rank, super useful character. Anyway, I digress a little bit. Let's move on. Events, just look at them, try to do all of them. Do as many as you can, so as you want, that is. Bonuses. So this here is basically when you sign in, you get the kind of month-long sign-in bingo card. Then there's this Land of Wishes thing. This is available for any new account. I don't know since when, but essentially it's where you can sink a bunch of excess crystals. You'll get some, not bad but not good rewards for spending it. But then you get this S rank ducat. It basically gives you a free S rank Valkyrie once you've spent enough. So it's useful for new players who want to get Night Movie, Lightning Empress, or Dimension Breaker fairly easily. Then there is the monthly bonus card, which is basically 50 extra gems every day and then 500 at the end of the thing. So if you got one of these cards, or 60 extra crystals, sorry, this is where you can find out. Now, I think all these things, or the daily sign-in and this monthly card, pop up right as soon as you start the game. So you can claim them as soon as you start the game the first time each day. Okay, so Mailbox, really self-explanatory. Mail shows up in here. usually giveaways, and a few other things which we'll touch on later. If you see a red icon here, it means you got mail. Go check it, go get it. It's free stuff 99% of the time. News, sort of self-explanatory. This comes up at the start of the game, and basically just has sometimes an overwhelming amount of information. But like, lets you know the big 4.1 patch coming soon, with a new event coming, a new character coming in. Talks about changes in the supply stash, focus target stash, some extra content for you to watch, and so on. There's usually a lot listed in here, but if anything, have a gander at anything that's marked as new and supply, just so depending on how serious you are about it, you keep yourself informed. Same thing with announcements, lots of information in here. Have a look if you want. That usually don't see too much in there. So that was news, sorry. LTO, so these are limited time offers. So this is one of the areas where a lot of microtransaction stuff is on display, but there are a handful of just free stuff in here. You just got to look for it. So for example, I think it was this one here was free. Just, that's why it said it sold out, free. And this one I think cost me like 15 coins or 30 coins, something like that. So if it's super cheap, but you just have a quick flip through and see if there's anything inexpensive that you can afford, and then you get them. This is where you get some outfits that usually involves money in some way, shape, or form, but through special events you can accrue some of these tickets eventually. Takes a while though. And then where all the rest of the microtransactions are hidden at. But one of the things that I really want to point out that's really important in here is under the bundles and then permanent, you got these friendship supply crates. So you accrue friendship points by making friends, and then for each mission you can pick a friend to bring along. You just accrue those points, and then this is where you go to spend them. So basically you just, however many you got, max it, buy it, it resets after daily. So if you got a ton of points, you just get a pile of free stuff for it. So it's good to know where to spend that currency that you just accrue by playing the game. Okay, but yeah, some micros in here, but also for some free stuff. So you just got to waddle through it carefully. Alright, so now we're going to move on down here to this little bottom left-hand corner. Got the chat menu. It's fairly self-explanatory. World chat, where everybody yaps. Supply ads, announcements of people who got lucky rips on their drops. Armada, this is where Armada chat happens. 99% of the time it's just these announcements. We will touch on that shortly. Team, this is like if a co-op group is missing a member, they can make an announcement in here. So if you see anything in here, feel free to hop in and help a brother out. Private, this is where one-on-one messages pop in. It gets a little iffy at times. So, and then group, we'll talk about groups a little bit in a little bit, but this is where group chat happens here. TeamList, if you happen to be putting together a team, this is where you create it. This is where you can look for different teams doing different content. And then the more important section I want to talk about is the friend section. So basically the friends section is fairly self-explanatory. List the people that you have added as friends, some of their info. You can click on them to see more info. If they're online, what badges they're rocking, and a quick way to message them. So it's really simple stuff. Recent people that you have been in co-op groups with. Add, this is basically some previous co-op mates, just people online, people that you might have interacted with at some point in time. It's just an easy way to add someone. But you can also search for people here, and you search by their ID number. So if you're looking at a friend, you need the ID number. Feel free to add me if you see me. And then requests, if you have any friend requests. So like I said, it's a fairly simple, straightforward interface. The only thing that I guess that's worth noting is these smiley face. It just means that you've used that person. You've picked that person a fair few times in missions, and I guess you kind of accrue like a level rating with them, and it just gives you a little bit more XP, a little bit more friendship points, and the cooldown time is reduced a little bit. Just little things. Next, however, we're going to talk about the Sensei system, which is actually pretty cool. A lot of people don't even know about it. So, to start off, as a new player, you're going to start off as a cadet, but you need someone to be a sensei. As you can see, I've already graduated. I'm a sensei here, so I don't have the UI exactly the same as what a cadet would have, but I'm pretty sure they have the ability to find a sensei down here, and then if you interact with just about anybody, oh, I gotta go with friends here. You can recruit them as cadet, or if they're looking for a cadet, you can request to be their cadet. Said that a lot of times. Anyway, so basically, you got to find yourself a sensei first. Now, what does that mean? All right, well, what it means is in the bottom corner here, you're going to have, in my case, sensei career, but in your case, it'll be cadet career. And by clicking on one of my cadets that I've got over here, you have the examination trial window and daily teachings. So that's what you're going to have as a new cadet. These are just tasks for you to do. Reach level 20. A lot of people have already done that. Clear story 1-15 hard. A lot of people could have already done that too, and then it'll be marked as completed. Clear 3 co-op stages can be done by cadet independently, so you don't actually have to do it with the sensei. You can do it on your own. You know, if you do all your co-ops on a regular basis, this will be done in no time, and you get all these sweet rewards. The sensei will get some of these points and some of this currency, which we will touch on in a little bit. In order for everybody to get these rewards, once you've completed this, there'll be a button down here. It says like review or something like that, or submit. Click on that, and you basically give you can give some feedback and a star rating of your sensei's work. Just click the button, and everybody gets rewards. You get sent this half, and then the sensei will be given this other half. There are daily things that you can do that reward you with little stuff, but it adds up, and the sensei with some points as well. All adds up. Really trivial things to do. So clear 2 stages with a 50 hit combo. You can do a 50 hit combo, come on. And then this one, then you'll find these often too. Join a co-op battle with your sensei 1 times and 3 times. So you might need to message them, coordinate with them a little bit, but this should be pretty easy to do, and it's just free stuff for you to do. So what is the sensei and cadet system? Play the game, get free stuff. So once you've completed all the phases, there's a total of 10 phases, you will graduate, which means you are no longer a cadet. You can now be a sensei, and then you can adopt a cadet for 2 cadets for yourself, and basically go through the same rigmarole. They do this stuff, you get rewards, and you get currency. Well, they get themselves some rewards and currency. The TLDR is get yourself a sensei, do the stuff listed in here, and everybody gets rewards for it. It's a win-win just to play the game. There is one cool little thing that you'll get starting at phase 8 as a cadet. You will get these here called assignments, but these are assignments that could only be completed with your sensei. The first time I came across this, I was trying for hours to try and recruit non-sensei people to join me, and it just would not work. Until I came back and I read it again, figured it out, messaged my sensei, and we banged these out. Again, it's just free stuff all day long. And that's just one of those features that a lot of people straight up miss, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Alright, so that's it for the friends section. Well, actually, sorry, let me back it up a tiny bit. There is groups. This is where you can create a group of people. So that way there you have a group of friends, for example. that's kind of about it. If you have a group people want to apply to it. This could also be very useful for people who are building social media network groups. You can you put your group together here. Blacklist, that's for dealing with pesky trolls and people that you just don't want to deal with. So there you go, block them. Alright, so that takes care of the bottom left hand corner here. You can shrink this down, but it's nice to see if anything is going on here. If someone's messaged you in any of the channels mentioned above, there will be a little red dot here, so you can see that. Next, we're going to talk about the stuff located in the bottom right hand corner of the UI. First, we're just going to go over AI Chan's little cell phone, I guess you could call it. It's mostly just information in here. Collection info, achievements, the support channel, I guess that could be useful to know. News, another way to get to it, a quick link to Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, Discord. Then you can swipe sideways, a link to open up the manga in a mobile browser. Go to their website, downloads file, database stuff, and I guess this instructions just got some super noob level instructions on how to play things, but there are little academy events that you can do in here, so those could be useful for you. You can learn a lot about all the different Valkyries listed here. Another shortcut button here to your mail. It's on the main page already. This will allow you to customize the little sticker here on the side, but you can do that by just clicking on it. These are just really kind of hard to unlock, but if you unlock some, pick whichever one you like. I like this one, the one I currently had selected. And then last but not least, this is where all the generic settings are. So you've got your audio controls, assistant stuff, video. I don't usually recommend jacking it up too high because it gets a little iffy, puts a little too much strain on the system. Image, so you can make it normal and soft, whatever you want. And then a few other little ducats. Neat thing is where it uses the real-time weather to change the background here. But still, good to know where the settings are. Armada. So an Armada is basically like a guild, group of people essentially type of thing. I strongly recommend you just pick one, join it, unless it's one you really intend on getting to know and make friends with. Then maybe put a little effort into looking for the right group. Anyway, you got the list of online members, who's on, how much they've done, what their little profile pictures are, etc. Now, there's a few things in here worth working on. One of them is commissions. So commissions are, you basically give the Armada some of your materials and you get Armada points back. And that Armada points can then be used at the Armada shop, which you can buy other type of materials that are not as easily accessible. So in a long roundabout way, it's converting some of your materials into a different type of currency. So you click on request new, you pick which one you want to do, and then you will see how many submissions you're allowed to make, which is enough for one entire commission essentially. So basically you can click through these, you might have the item, you might not. If you seem to be missing an item, you can click on it and it'll give you options on how to acquire that item. If there's already one in progress, you can contribute to that, provided you have enough attempts. At the end of every, I think, 12-hour cycle, it tells you what rewards you're going to acquire by clicking on the rewards tab here. And it says you're normally just going to get this, and then a random distribution of possibly these. Click claim, just get free stuff by donating some items. Warehouse is where you can request for certain items. So you can make a request from the other Armada people to give you any one of these items. So you have some Homu options, which are basically converts to money. You have a whole bunch of different fragment options, mostly like mid-lower tier ones that are also all very farmable. But just the same, you can still request them here from other people. People who donate to you based on your request, or vice versa. If you donate to other people's requests, that counts towards the contribution of your Armada, which we'll talk about in just a second. So basically pick whatever you would ask for. And most people would have these, and you probably have abundance of them too. I like to ask for these things for upgrades. XP chips are a good choice as well too if you need to level up. As you can see, this person is requesting this crafting upgrade material. So by donating, I will be given a little bit of money, some Armada points, and other Armada currency for the whole Armada, which I'm not the guildmaster of this Armada, so I don't know how that whole thing works. But if you're running one, there's like a whole other ball game for that. Anywho, I just like to make my donations, which all pile up into the contributions. So as you can see, I seem to be winning by 5 measly little points. But just by doing the contributions of your commissions and the warehouse donations, basically gives you some Homu money and a bunch more currency and some crystals at the end of it. But this is also Armada based. So as long as your Armada is relatively active, this will just kind of get filled up for you every week. But you know, do your part. And then with all the Armada stuff you've been accruing, there's the Armada shop. This can buy you skill upgrades. These are for the dorms, which we'll talk about later. You got elf tokens. You got mithril, which is another important currency. These are upgrade items, and heck, you even get this is the dorm supply cards. So these are for pulling new Valks. This is where you can just buy them easy. And last but not least, and most importantly, Honkai cubes. So these are already fully upgraded things, and these are meant to upgrade high-end items. These are hard as hell to get. So as you can see, it's worth quite a few points. I don't have a lot right now because I spent a lot of them. But it's one of the few ways to just straight up get Honkai cubes, which when we talk about weapons later, you're going to want them. So that's it for Armada. Dorm. Now, Dorms actually has a fair bit of stuff in here too that is easily missed. First and foremost, you have the section of excess stamina and just coin generator. You click on this and you just get a bunch of coins. This is not a lot. Usually get a lot more of that overnight. Excess stamina, however, is when your stamina bar is maxed out. It will store up to, I think it was 40% of excess stamina in here. Then you can claim that as a later date. So, you know, if you find yourself not playing every day, this thing will also have a bunch of extra stamina for you to acquire. You'll see your dorm squad down here in the bottom corner and what sort of attributes that gives you. Whoops, back button. Then there is the Valkyries. These are all the Valkyries that you have unlocked, what their current state is. There is a better place to go and check out the Valkyries and their states, but this is just kind of a quick glance of all of them. But the important stuff is the next 3 tabs down here: Expeditions, Errands, and Shop, of course. So Expeditions is another way to acquire fragments for practically everybody, as well as a lot of different materials for upgrades and crafting, on top of currency, and these ones are called, I think, Valkyrie battle chips or something like that. I forget the exact name. But anywho, I digress. What you do here is you can spend excess energy by sending your Valkyries out on these missions. As you can see, Hard 4-4, Hard 5-2, Supreme S1-8. These are all missions that you have completed already in the story mode. And you can now send your Valkyries to repeat that mission for these rewards by spending the same amount of stamina. It takes an hour to complete. You need a minimum of combat points and a minimum number of Valkyries, and you can only do them so many times. But this is an easy way for you to farm up other materials without actually having to play the game. You know, you can do your kind of daily grind ritual and then spend all the excess energy, ship them out here. Or, you know, if you play a little bit in the morning and I play a little bit in the evening, you accrue energy throughout the day. Well, if you've done all your most of your gameplay in the morning, you can just burn all this extra energy by sending them out doing this, and they come back with more stuff for you. So basically you send them out by clicking on which mission you want, like what item you want, send them on that mission. You can pick the team independently, and any Valkyries you send out on these expeditions, you can still play with them in any other normal mode. You just can't use them for the other expeditions, but you can still use them everywhere else. That's an important detail. I often just use quick dispatch because it picks the minimum number of Valkyries and the minimum amount of combat points they can get away. Most efficient route. Click confirm, off they go, and in 50 minutes I'll get one of these things. And then once they're all done, you can claim them. As you can see, this mission was a bust. Still got a little bit of free stuff for it, but didn't get exactly what I was hoping for. It happens, but it's a good way to get fragments for the other Valks. Like for example, Valkyrja Durandal. You want to get her up to triple S rank, you better start sending some expeditions. Oh, and another important detail is pay attention to the stamina use at the top here. This is like a daily limit. So once you've used up all this stamina, which takes your normal stamina, but this is how much you are allowed to expend on these expeditions. Next up is the errands. So this is sort of like the expeditions, except smaller, not as impressive. So basically they're little errands, and what you do is you choose out of the list that are available here. As you can see, I've got a bunch on the go. You click on which one you want. It tells you a little bit about what they do. It tells you these qualities that are required, and then you basically pick the members you want. It tells you what their qualities are, and you try to meet those numbers. You don't like the mission, you can only get this once, but you can refresh it to change it. So for example, if you don't have any intellect-based Valkyries available at the moment because they're all on other harder missions, you can try your hand at refreshing this and see if you get one that's got different stats you have available. You can pick your team by hand like I showed you, or you can just quick dispatch, and it will pick the least amount it can get away with. Click start, off they go. It takes a handful of hours, so it's more of a set them up in the morning, finish them at night, or set them up in the evening, finish them in the morning type of thing. But what they do is they give you XP chips, upgrade items, and stuff like that. There's even a chance for certain S-class ones to give you actual crystals. But all of them give you these work point cards, which is kind of like another currency. Said currency is spent over here in the shop. As you can see, you can get some important upgrade items, dorm cards, skill upgrade items, and some gachas for various fragments. So basically you send them out for free to do stuff, they come back with some stuff for you, you accrue the currency, and you get more stuff. A little bit roundabout way of doing it, but it's basically send them out to go do something and get stuff for it. Now there is a few other things located here. So in this part of the room you can see some Valkyries wandering around, being all kawaii chibi like thing. You have the dorm shop, takes you to the same place, the shop button in the bottom corner. Errands, same thing here. Then you got two other things. You got dorm and divine keys. Divine keys are artifacts you get from completing the co-op stages, and then you can basically upgrade them with a very different way than the usual upgrade path. But there are a handful of different artifacts to acquire. We're not going to go too in depth for that. And then they have different skill levels. So it's all just buffs for you to have everywhere. And then you got the gene limit, which you can set here. And based on which artifacts you have acquired, you can spend this currency and give yourself a passive buff for 3 hours. A lot of people don't know about this. They might have the items, but they may not know how to use these buffs. So as you can see, I get a passive 70 HP here, a bunch more attack, and then I can choose one of these two options. So if I'm going to do a physical based team, probably going to want to go crit rate over, physical damage over crit rate. But if I'm going to go with an elemental team, probably just want normal crit rate because that works for everybody. So have a quick gander over which one is which, and then you hit activate. You can also set how long you want it to last. You got hours, you got days, and then it amplifies the cost accordingly. So that's what the divine keys is for, but that only matters once you've accrued some of these weapons by completing the co-op raids. Dorm is just another little side fun thing. You're building up a dorm. You got like all the Valkyries kicking around. You can play basically a house. There's not much to this. It doesn't really give you any actual real rewards other than feeling like a total weeb and just being silly. Sometimes when you click on them, you get a little present and it gives you items that are needed to craft items for here. So you click on edit, you go to something you don't have, and it costs a certain amount of these little blocks that you get. That's how you make them. And this is a whole other little fun side distraction, but TLDR doesn't really net you anything of real value to your actual gameplay. Still, fun little time killer, basically. Not going to spend doing any time on that, though. So that's pretty much the dorm section. A couple things in here, like I said, worth noting. Collect your excess supplies here. Do expeditions if you got excess energy, or if you really need certain items or certain fragments. Do errands, just queue them up, pick them up the next day, queue them up, pick them up. And then based on that, just go to the shop once in a while and spend all your tickets. Or if you have a bunch of tickets already acquired and you need some of these upgrade items, this is another of many ways to get them. Okay, now we're going to cover this important section here. This is 99% of the game, basically. Attack is where you go do missions. Valkyrja is where you go and check out very specific stats and details about every one of the unlocked Valkyrja that you have acquired yourself, all their gear, configurations, Stigmata configurations, etc. We're going to go into each one of these. Try to be brief, but there's a lot to go over. Equipment, it's mostly self-explanatory, but there are some important details in here to go over. Elf, that's a whole other discussion, and supply we'll talk about as well too. Let's basically just get started with attack, where this is where the fun happens, right? You play the game, go and attack stuff. So first and foremost, story mode. Go here, go through the story. The story is actually really, really, really good. There's a fair bit of dialogue, but it is really good. And every so chapters, there's actually like a really cool CG finale to that chapter, and they're amazingly well done for a mobile game. It's one of the actual main reasons why I even played this. Just story got really good, got compelling, and I just couldn't put it down. Next thing you know, I was very absorbed into this, and now here I am recording a tips video on how to play a mobile game. Anywho, what's great about these stories is that the normal mode stories are really easy. They're easy, chill, not too hard, usually provide you the character you're going to play as, and every single mission is going to have like the objective of you just go beat up the monsters. But every one of them has these bonus objectives, and you'll find this everywhere throughout the game where you do the attack missions. They all reward you with crystals. That crystals being like your premium currency, so to speak. So if I just pop on over here, set this to where I'm at, you'll see here 5 crystals for each objective. So every one of those missions is 15 crystals. So for a free-to-play player, this is one of the key ways that you build up your crystal supply. For everyone else, it's still a fun experience, plus lots of crystals, lots of other rewards, and it's just got a really cool story to go through. So do story, man. Do lots of story. Harder modes are worth doing. So it goes from like normal mode to hard mode and supreme. Supreme's got, well, both hard and supreme have some captain level caps that you'll have to surpass. So it just means you're gonna have to play a little bit. But they basically replay the story on a harder difficulty. Usually you have to bring your own Valkyrja instead of the story provided ones, and more crystals. more rewards. You'll also get fragments and all sorts of stuff. And every one of these missions becomes available in the expeditions for your dorms. That's how you get all the good stuff basically for the expeditions. So it's totally worth playing through multiple times. Usually what I end up doing is after I've completed this whole story is when I go back doing harder ones, I would just spend a little excess energy after doing kind of my daily routine of stuff, little excess energy, come here, do a couple of these missions, and then sign off. That's usually how I got through it. So that's story. Totally worth doing. Down below here we have Chronicles. It's very much the same vein, but it's more like alternative stories, side stories to the canon story that's told. Nothing that's breaking, but just kind of stuff on the side focused on certain characters. So like this one's focused on Teresa, this one's focused on Himiko, this one's focused on Fuhua, and this is focused on the Vodka twins, which means that you actually have to play with these characters. There is a story mode, and each one of those provides with crystals and rewards, and by completing all of them you will also get additional rewards. So as you can see, this awards a lot of fragments, stigmata, and a weapon at the very end of it. That requires both normal and hard mode being completed though. So lots of content in here, cool stories on the side, and tons of crystals to be acquired. A little bit more restrictions though. Anyway, next up is sort of the more important detail. This is the material events. These are a lot of daily missions to be done, kinda. So the first one here, actually these three here they can only be done once per day, and this one here, once you've unlocked it, which may not be available to low-level captains, is one that's repeatable, but it only gives you a small reward and it still costs you your stamina. And then the last one, the co-op one here, it rewards you with some cool weapons, but they're not really game-breaking weapons, and not a lot of people do these. So, go ahead and do it. Still costs you stamina, and you might have to wait a little while to find a group. But the first one listed here is a Homu trial, coin training as so it's called, and it rewards you with a lot of Homu treasure chests, which is basically money. You can get co-op points. You can flip it over and do solo, but there's no fun in that. Next up is the XP training. These reward you with lots of XP chips, sorry. So go ahead and do these. These are co-op, so they don't cost you, well, it's a co-op mission and does not cost you stamina, but you can only do this once per day. This is usually pretty busy, so you usually won't have to wait very long. It's a daily thing, do it daily. Takes you 5 minutes because it's super easy. And then same with this one here, Drift World. I don't think it's available for low-level captains. I forget exactly when it unlocks, but it's just a daily mission you do. You get these gold pin currency and these skill materials. These are needed for upgrading your skills. Again, a daily thing. So just try to crunch these 3 daily based on how often you want to play. That's about it. But it is a pretty important part of the grind, I guess you could say. So come in and do these each day that you pop on. Next up, and one little touch. Some of these missions, this one here, for example, has this little fast forward icon. That means you can use a booster, which allows you to auto-complete this. Now, I don't really recommend wasting the boosters on these. These missions are super trivial and easy. They take 10 seconds and they don't cost you much. I think 10 energy or something, depending on your level actually. Just go do it. Save those boosters for adventure tasks. We'll touch on that shortly. Okay, back up to the attack area. So we got the co-op raid. Now co-op raids, a little tiny bit involved. These are both 6 stages of missions to be done. There's not really, but there's sort of a story to them, but it's loose. I don't worry too much about it. I don't recommend you worry too much about it either. But there is a lower difficulty one and then a higher difficulty one. These all have resets though. So when you go in, you'll see that there is 3 theaters, each one consisting of 2 missions, and by completing the theater of 2 missions, you get the following rewards. And these will be reset in this specific case, 7 hours from now. If we look at the other one, which I did, I think yesterday, again, all completed, got all sorts of cool rewards for it, but will be reset in 4 days. Now, you can manually forcefully reset. It costs you some items, time structures in this case. Unless you're diehard, really want to reset it and come in and get these extra things, better off saving those resources for other crafting and shop related stuff. They auto reset every few days, so gives you a reason to come in, crunch it, have some fun, do other stuff, spend your energy elsewhere, but it resets in a couple of days. However, the important detail about these co-op raids is that the harder one here will reward you with one of these divine keys, which are artifacts, which we talked about in the dorm area, which give you sweet buffs to your account wide and are really powerful weapons to be used. So you have to complete the co-op, all 6 missions, in order to get the weapon. Once you've acquired the weapon, you can only ever get it once. But still, the rewards that you get for completion are pretty valuable and are needed in order to upgrade these divine keys. In other words, worth doing on reset. And so once you queue up for one of these, it basically is going to make a team, and you're going to have to wait probably a few minutes for other members to join. Unfortunately, if someone gets disconnected in the middle of it, they're not automatically going to rejoin, so you might have a little bit of difficulty finding a third again. But, you know, be patient, invite friends, Armada members. A lot of times people are pretty cool to come in and help for a couple of missions. So that's co-op stages. They're worth doing. Basically, the TLDRs, they're worth doing on reset, especially to get the divine key items. Next, we're going to talk a bit about the open world. Now, open world is a whole other gameplay, but is really cool too. It's exactly like what it says. It's an open world where you run around as a certain Valkyrja and do missions. So, there are 3 different open worlds, and you can only unlock one of them per week, and the reset is on Monday. So, at the beginning of the week, you pick which one you want to play in. Each one of them is a little bit different than the other. 2 of them you have to bring and play with your own Valkyrja, and a third one, which is a post-Honkai Odyssey, that one actually has its own Valkyrja for you to play as and level independently of your usual roster. It's very, very, very different, but also very, very, very well done. Definitely pick whichever one interests you. That's the best I can suggest. Post Honkai Odyssey has a bit better rewards currently, but the other 2 are still, they have interesting stories to them, interesting areas for you to explore, and they all provide you with rewards. The main way it provides you with rewards are completing the main story mission of said open world and adventure tasks located over here. Now, adventure tasks are 5 possible little side missions that you do in that open world, and it resets on Monday, Thursday, Saturday, as you can see here. It costs you stamina or energy to pick them, and then upon completion you get rewards, and those rewards are usually XP, some kind of currency, and usually like a crafting or skill upgrade material, or in a lot of cases fragments of various sorts. So they're all really good rewards. It does cost a fair bit of energy. You got to pick 5 of them on each one of those resets. It adds up, especially at higher levels when you get higher difficulty. As you can see, these are my recommended difficulties, and these cost from like 30 to 50 energy a piece to me. So that's a lot of energy when I only have a maximum of 150. Anywho, high level people problems. But they are worth it. They're worth using a couple energy cans to refresh some of your energy, grab all of them, and then go and do them. They don't take very long to complete by running around in the open world, and they give you a lot of rewards. It's still, I consider it part of my weekly grind. I do them every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, pretty much on the nose. And even if it requires me to recharge a little bit of energy, like I said, it's worth it. You get a lot of stuff for it. Same thing with the current actual adventure tasks. If it's available, pick it up, go and do it. Same with some side story. I've kind of done all of them, but still, play the game, get the rewards. A little drink. One thing that is worth noting, and this is what differentiates Post-Honkai Odyssey over the other two open worlds. So let me backtrack a step here. You go to open world, select map, and that's how you get to choose which one you want to use. In Post-Honkai Odyssey, it has this ruins. Ruins is basically like a increasing difficulty like mini dungeon. Basically, you just do a bunch of fights, get these keys, which are like a currency, and then you basically get those keys and get supply drops. And supply drops just shower you with rewards. And this is basically play the game, get free stuff. What else can I say? That's why it's a little bit better than the other ones. And then the fact that these three characters that they have in here are really cool. They play really fun, and they have like a very unique story located in this mini game within a game. So open world is definitely a must-do, in my opinion. And that's why we're here. All right. So that covers the basic attacks, all right? So basically, do your story stuff. You get a lot of stuff out of it, so it's worth doing. Material event, do the 3 of them that I pointed out each day that you can, and you'll be great. Chronicles, do them sort of like story. Just do them when you got excess energy, or if you just want something fun to do, and they give you tons of rewards as well, including more crystal opportunities. Co-op raids, it costs a lot of energy and they have weird reset times, but you get sweet weapons first unlocked with them, and then you get a lot of very helpful materials that you need later on. Open world, a very cool and different way to play the game. Adventure tasks, 5 of them every couple of days, and they give you tons of rewards. So it's worth a do. I'd strongly recommend checking out open world because it's a very fun and different way to play the game. Now we're going to talk about challenge. So there are 5 different modes available in here at higher levels. So lower levels, you might not have access to these right away. They'll tell you at what captain level you get unlocked to them. But still, being informed is the key to winning at this game. So the first one we're going to talk about is the one that's going to be located in this column here, currently called Dirac C. It will also be called Q-Singularis on other days. This one's a little weird because it basically has like 2 missions it cycles through. 2 missions it cycles through on kind of weird reset times, but this is one of the ways that you will acquire quite a few crystals just by playing the game. Do my best to explain it. So at the beginning of the week, there's usually a preparation time. I think it's usually 24 hours. You can't do anything during then. You check it, you click on it, and it says preparing, and you'll see this kind of screen. Well, actually, you'll be way at the bottom here, prep zone, and you'll see a bunch of people here. You can't do anything. Look around, have a peek. That's cool. After that period is gone, it will then be ongoing, and it'll tell you like 2 or 3 days. During that time, you basically go in here, you click start, and you pick your team, and you're basically going to do a big series of fights, and you're going to do a big series of fights in like an open world type of environment as well. Run around, kill the things, do what Valkyries do best, murder the monsters. At the end of it, you're going to be given a score, and that score will be compared to your peers in the same bracket that you're going to be in. And then based on that, either you're going to be in the top 3 or 5 of them and get promoted to a higher difficulty and get more reward, or you stay in the same tier and you get a decent reward, and in some cases you get a poorer score and you go down a difficulty stage. And then after a couple of days, that resets and it goes into the alternative mission. So if I'm on Dirac C right now, I'm going to be going to Q-Singularis next, and the similar cycle will repeat. The TLDR is you show up, you punch monsters. At the end of the time reset, you're going to get a bunch of crystals, a bunch of other rewards, and you'll either go up in difficulty or down in or stay or go down. Just do the best you can, and that's how you're going to get a lot of crystals. As you can see in the particular tier I'm working on, those going up are going to get 360 crystals and a bunch of money. I'm currently kind of in the retention. I'm staying put. That's just sort of my cap right now. I'm getting 260 crystals in in an hour from now, and then a couple people who didn't do very well are getting bumped down. They're still getting 180 crystals. Play the game, do well, get free stuff. This is sort of, I guess you could call it, the competitive multiplayer aspect. It's not PvP, it's just kind of competitive by nature, trying to get to the top tier. So I recommend having a look at this. I understand it's a little confusing and complex, but after a couple of goes around, you start to kind of zero in on how it works, and then you'll be able to start riding the wave of getting quite a few more crystals coming in so that they can go back out later on. Next up is Memorial Arena. This will be available at a little bit higher levels, and this basically is you're going to fight bosses that are peppered throughout the game's entire content. So in this particular week's case, we have Bright Knight, Excelsius, Hephaestus, and Callan. You are given 5 attempts per day. Each boss fight has 5 difficulty stages for you to work through. Starts really easy, gets a little harder, gets pretty hard, and then the last tier is pretty tricky. Based on your performance, how fast you killed them, how much damage you did, how much damage you didn't take, etc., you'll be given a score. That score is amalgamated and compared to everyone else, and then based on your standings, you will be given this currency, Ancient Willpower, which I'll show you where you spend that later, but it's pretty important. And then the Soul Crystals, which are super important for upgrading your weapons and Stigmatas. TLDR, go and fight the bosses, do the best you can. At the end of the reset, get a bunch of currency and rewards, go and spend it in the war treasury, which we'll talk about later. And because you got 5 stages of increasing difficulty, you got 5 tries to figure out their attack pattern and stuff like that, so that even by the time you get to the difficult ones, it's not too bad because you kind of get a feel for their attack patterns and stuff like that. And another important detail is whichever Valkyrja and their gear you bring in on given bosses are locked to that boss for that reset. Not permanently, just for that reset. So that's an important thing to pay attention to. And it's also an important thing to pay attention to when you go inside the boss. What are some of the recommended features? So that way there you can bring the right Valkyrja and have the right Valkyrja locked and not have the wrong ones and then get stuck in a bad situation. So be sure to have a quick gander over what it's worth having. For example, Kaylin here, she don't like elements, right? So it's good to bring in physical damage dealing monsters or Valkyrjas. So yeah, be sure to try and do these as best you can. That's what I recommend doing. Next up is bounty marks. Now bounty marks are also pretty important. When you click on them the first time around, right now I have nothing listed here because A, I bought my bounties for the week, and B, I completed my bounties I had available to me. When you first show up in here at the beginning of a week, you'll have a little window here that says you can buy an S class, an A class, and a B class one for Time Swirl cards. They can also be found in the task shop located down here. So at the beginning of each week, scroll over to the side here, to the side, you'll see here all these different bounty mark types. These will all be way on the other side, and you'll be able to buy them for X amount of Time Swirl passes. You acquire time scroll passes by playing the game through various means, as well as spending them with these time structures. You can buy some with crystals, and basically buying the bounty marks requires those time swirl passes. There are a handful of other ways and other shop spots where you can get them, and I'll talk about that later. Excuse me. But basically what these are boss fights. Well, not even boss fights. I can kind of show you. Ooh, S rank, very nice. So in this case, it is a boss fight, and you'll be rewarded this type of currency here. I forget what it's called, and then a possible chances at certain weapon fragments to drop. Oops, didn't want to start that yet. Leave, sorry. But now you'll see it listed in here. So if I click on this, it will automatically create a team and automatically open it up to invites for other people. It is a 3-person co-op mission, and for an S-class one like this, you definitely want 3 people, and you want to bring your best. For B-class, they're really easy. A-class can be a little bit more challenging. But basically, at the beginning of a week, you buy as many of these as you can acquire, and then aim to complete them. So in the top corner here, you see select up item. This is where you can choose to have the fragments of these items drop rate slightly increased. So it's not guaranteed, it is slightly increased. Don't get that confused. But each one of these are craftable items, craftable weapons, craftable stigmatas, and we'll talk about the crafting a little later. I know this is getting long, but there's a lot in this game. So if you know which ones you're looking for, pick one, select target, and you'll have higher chances of it dropping. And another little detail is, let's say, like in my case, I kind of did all of mine just until now. You can still come into the search button here and see other people's bounties that they have listed, and you can go and help them do their bounties. Keep in mind though, A, it costs no energy or anything else for you to go and help someone else. But B, you get very, very, very little for it. You get a little tiny bit of XP, a little tiny bit of co-op XP, and a small chance of a drop, and primarily only if you're the MVP player. In other words, you did the most damage. Fisticuffs. But still, if you're looking for an excuse to play the game without actually having to spend anything, that's one way of doing it. I like to do that just to go and help people and get a little bit of practice. Still, when we talk about crafting stuff later, you'll better understand why it's important to come in here, pick what you're looking for, and do your bounties. Additionally, you get this ether fuel, which is also needed for crafting. And I think that was about it that needed to be covered in here. We'll talk about crafting later though, because that's a very big, well, not too big, but another whole other topic. Okay, so next we have character trials and deep archive. So these are also, again, higher level captain modes, but character trials are a lot like the Chronicles. They are character specific and centric and restricted. In other words, for Stalker's Emblem, these is a Rita only trial. In this case here, it's May only. In this case here, it's Branya or the Vodka twins. Or in this case, you have Branya and Orsile. And then in this case, you have Bright Knight Excelsius Durandal. So they all have restrictions, but they are challenge modes. They start off easy and they get gradually harder, and they reward you with more stuff all the way through. So each one of these are pretty high value items to get. Hard to get as well. And then once you've completed it, you can get another special reward. But again, you have to play within those restrictions. Worth doing, but kind of a later player thing. And then last but not least, we have Deep Archives. Same concept as Character Trials, less restrictive, but a lot harder still. So these you still get some really good rewards for it, but these get a lot harder, a lot faster. So it's meant for high-level players with some good decked out Valks in their gear. And they're just various mission types, and they have certain restrictions on them. So in other words, like this one here, physical melee attacks will increase your SP by 2, but doesn't apply when in burst mode. Gain 1000% total damage multiplier in Valkyrja burst mode. So it gives you a huge buff, but you got to do the right things. And it is also very hard. Well, if your Valks aren't that great. Anywho, don't attempt until you're pretty confident your Valks are well equipped and you've got some practice under your thumbs. So that's the challenge. The bulk of the stuff you're going to want to do in here is bounty marks each week. Grab them as you can, do them as you can, and if you just want a reason to play for free, go help other people do bounties. Easy peasy. Memorial Arena, do that each couple of days. Go do your attempts each day, do the best you can, get free stuff, because I'll show you when we get to the shop part later, the Ancient Willpower currency is super important if you want to get a handful of S-class Valkyries. It requires some time and some work, but this is the only way to do it. And then Dirac C and Q-Singularis, a little bit more complicated and longer term type of thing, but is definitely worth the effort because you get a lot of crystals and you'll get a lot of rewards out of it. But again, it takes a few tries to get the hang of it. Whoops, too far back. Last but not least, we have the event tab. Now this is more of a dynamic area because every week, every couple of weeks is a new event going on, and battles are usually located in here. You could also find them often in the events tab, like shortcuts to them here, but you could also access a lot through the events under attack and then events. So we have Rebel Thunder and Thunder Memories here. Thunder Memories is a daily thing where you go and do 3 types of missions daily. Rebel Thunder, this one here, is more of a challenge mode where you don't get rewards for doing multiple attempts each day. You get one set of rewards once. SimBattle is for Armada. When you go to SimBattle here, it's basically attempt to beat these 3 bosses with either pre-selected Valkyrja and gear or your own. The pre-selected ones are super maxed out, so they're probably better than yours. They're definitely better than mine. But they're pre-selected, so you have to play with what there is. It's a good way to try out new Valkyrja you may not have. Fun fact. But you basically just get a bunch of free stuff for attempting it, and I think it costs you a little bit of stamina. No, it doesn't even cost you stamina to do it. And then trial play. Now trial play is where some fun stuff is hidden away. In here, usually you'll get to try out and check out new Valkyrja skins, new Valkyrja battle suits, new weapons that they're introducing. So for example, this one here was a new skin introduced for Teresa called Orchid's Night, and basically you get to go and do this mission. You get 3 bonus objectives, which means more crystals, so it's free, it costs very little stamina, and you get a bunch of rewards and crystals, so it's worth a quick do. Plus you get to check out the new skin or the new battle suit. So for example, in the upcoming patch we have the Harsha Thunder coming out. Yeah, she will be listed in here and you'll be able to trial and test it out, get a feel for it. And then on top of that, 3 bonus objectives, crystals, win. So always have a gander under here, see what's going on. You'll see that the badges here are blinking, and that usually means that there's some kind of reward that you can get in here. You know, I can go in and try the Nightmare Split Bolt a little bit, see about getting a few gold pins for that, or Nightmare's Construct, no thank you. Get a few more pins for it. So there's usually some stuff listed under here, so always check the trial play real quick, and check the events. So for the most part, that covers the action, the attack section. Next up is the Valkyrja section. Now the Valkyrja, so it might take a little while, but there's a lot to peel back in here. So, quick gander at the basic UI first and foremost. It shows all the Valkyrja that you have unlocked, all your waifus, and then at the very end, the waifus you don't have yet. I expect most people have a lot more on this side than I do on this side, but I digress. You have basically the name of the character, the name of the battlesuit, which a lot of people prefer to use as the point of reference when discussing it. Because, for example, there's a couple of Celes, there's a bunch of Kiana, there's a bunch of Raiden Mei. So just saying I like Raiden Mei in a bunch of her battlesuits. I specifically like Lightning Empress refers to a specific battlesuit for Raiden Mei. Good to know. Then you'll get the high summary level of what level they are, what ranking they are, what elemental type they are, and what other buffs they have. You can check details by clicking on any of the above. If they have alternate suits, you'll see it listed here. Pick whatever you want. On the right hand side, you'll have the current weapon that is equipped, the current Stigmatas that are equipped, but only like these weird symbols. It's not very informative, I guess, unless you've played the game a lot, and you've got them all memorized. And skills. This thing isn't specifically helpful, other than showing you that you spent a lot on upgrading their skill sets. Clicking on the skills is what you want to do here. Next, you have a way to create a layout, what Stigmatas, what weapons you want on them. Let's see, then some more info with regards to that particular character. Thank you, achievements. The take a screenshot button, which, as you can see, just makes a screenshot for you. And then the little heart symbol, that basically marks them as a favorite, pins them to the left, where all the unpinned ones are staying on the right. So in other words, you'll always find your best waifus up front, easy to find. Now we start peeling back the layers. So first and foremost, you have the name section. This talks about the specific details of that specific battlesuit. So what type it is, Psychic, what its name is, Lightning Empress, and then it gives you a little hexagon graph of where they're leaning. So she's kind of damaged, kind of bursty, mostly supporty, not so much the others. It gives you a little TLDR about the character, melee DPS, lightning damage, massive SP boost to the whole team. Good stuff to know. Then you can read about the ultimate, and you can read about the lightning bonus, or leadership bonus that they provide. Next up, you have the synergy tab. This talks about which characters they are better synchronized with and why. So it talks about like this particular version of Branya, Snowy Sniper, and her ultimate basically gives a buff for Lightning Empress. Divine Prayer, which is another version of Kiana, triggers QTEs, which is beneficial from her leader. It tells you who is good with her, but it is not the be-all end-all of it. This is where the most important detail is at equipment. This provides you with 3 levels of suggestions on how to equip your Valkyrja in order to get the most bang for the buck. So for beginners tab, these are very acquirable weapons and Stigmatas, usually craftable and usually early game stuff that you get for free. If you want a basic set to put on them, these are super easy to get. Next, you have the economic. Now, these ones here are kind of like the mid-tier, usually craftable equipment, but high-quality craftables. In other words, they require certain materials that are harder to come by or require a lot more effort to get. This is usually where you're going to get a huge boost game. When you go from beginner or mishmash, non-compatible stuff to getting the right kind of economic pieces, you're going to start seeing a big boost. Then Master is the best stuff that you can get for your Valkyrja. The best Stigmatas and the best weapons. Most of the darn time, these are from supply crates only, the gotcha boxes, or are very hard to craft. So this one here is exchangeable at the shop or comes only from a box. This is the stuff you really want to get to, but it is not easy to get to. But again, you need to have goals. Starting point, intermediary point, final destination, and this is where the ultimate DPS and support comes in, basically. It's really, really, really helpful to know when you're trying to get a Valkyrja performing better, or up a new one that you really wanted, and you're like, I want to deck her out as much as I can right off the bat, to know what to put on them and how to get the most. Now, these are the ideal suggestions. It doesn't mean if you look at some other Stigmatas that buff, let's say, lightning damage, it would not work well on this particular lightning-based Valkyrja, but these are just more of the strongly suggested ones. But if you got like one that buffs the lightning damage, that will work as well too, and you'll probably still get good performance out of it. So that's the name section. Again, just some high level stuff here. I don't find this part too helpful, but the equipment section is extremely important. That usually even provides you with like a quick link on how to acquire said weapon. Usually when it says either exchange house or no sources, it's gotcha boxes. Next, we're going to talk about just kind of the level section here. This is where you can see again, kind of a lot of the same info that was available at the higher level screen, but here you can see your combat potential points and then a value associated. So in this particular case, she's 2446. It's just going to give you a numerical gauge on how good your Valkyrja is performing compared to, say, your other ones. For example, this character, 2606, one of my highest ones. That means she kicks a lot of the butt. Anywho, you get kind of their basic attributes here based on what ranking they are, how much XP they have, and then the kind of two important areas that matter are quick leveling up. So you can always level up by playing missions, completing missions, and murdering the monsters, or we have our XP chips. So this is where you can feed them. Now, one thing to note is, let's say you picked 7 of these and you switch to a different tier, it resets that count. So pick and then commit or cancel, then switch. But anywho, this is one of the quicker ways to level up your characters. So as your captain level goes up, that's the maximum level for your Valkyrja. And then in order to get your Valkyrja levels up a little quicker, you feed them the XP chips. And that's why it is important to do your material events and do the XP chip ones, because that's an easy way to get them. And XP chips are also fairly frequent reward in most areas. So that's how you level them up real quick. Next up is how you evolve them. Now that looks at their current ranking, and then you need to have the correct amount of fragments of that specific character in order to evolve them. And evolving them increases their overall attributes and is a requirement for certain skills, which we will get to in just a second. Here it will show you how to get them, and going up like a preview of what you're going to unlock going up to the next tier, basically. Again, the most important things to take out of this specific thing is the level up button and feeding her XP chips and the evolve. You can also change their outfits here. Oh, and one more other thing. There are quick links at the very bottom here to switch between everything. As talking about switching between everything, next we have the weapon. So weapons got a fair bit here. So first and foremost, this is how you change weapons. Click swap. You will see recommendations for which ones are the best ones to be using. By toggling between them, but without equipping them, you'll see what your combat potential changes to. So usually you want to avoid it going down very much. Like, let's say this. That goes down a couple 100 points. It's not good. It's probably not worth swapping over. You want it to be as high as possible. It also tells you on the left hand side, how much attack you're getting, crit and or other stats. Mostly attack and crit, I guess. what weapon skills are on this weapon. So again, this is where we're starting to peel back more layers. It's not just a weapon, and it's not just going to give you attack and crit. It's got special abilities too. So you can read about what they all are here. So, usually there's a cost to how much SP it takes, and then what the cooldown is for it. Tells you what it does, what sort of elemental damage it might be, and then any other passive buffs that you get for it as well. Now, the important detail within the weapons is actually clicking on the weapon itself. So it tells you a lot more just about the details of that weapon. So a little lore, more detail on that weapon, and then you can enhance it and upgrade it. So let me go back to a weapon that needs enhancing and upgrading. I'd rather not take it off someone who's already got it equipped, but it is what it is. Alright, so you click on it, and basically you got a couple options here. So you got enhance, which I can't do right now because it's already max level. But you would click on enhance, and then you would tell it what materials you want to feed it. In other words, that's how you level it up. Here, we'll just do this. Oh no, it's already leveled up. Okay, give me something junky. Okay, here we go. So you click on enhance and you give it miscellaneous items. You can click on them and you can select them, but usually it pre-selects the ideal amount in order to get it to maximum level. In other words, it will only consume the items it needs to get to maximum level. If you don't have enough materials to get to said maximum level, it'll use all of it. So anyway, you hit enhance now, it'll do a little thing, and there you go. Next up, you're going to need to upgrade it. So as you can see here, max level is 5 out of 5. Upgrade it. Tells you what you need, tells you where you're going, do the upgrade, weapon upgrade out. Click on enhance, rinse and repeat until maximum level, preferred, because that's how you're going to get the most amount of bang for your buck and destructive power. Anywho, we'll fix that right back up for her. Now, some weapons are super easy to upgrade, and other weapons, like this one here, is a high tier crafted weapon. I've already got it enhanced. When I upgrade it, as you can see, it requires a Honkai Cube, which, as I said earlier in the video, is one of the high tier items required for upgrading. And it requires a bunch of other materials, which I have very limited of, because these are all required for high level upgrades. So these things start to become very important later on, maybe not early on. Anywho, what you want to do is you want to upgrade it to get it to the maximum level. That's how you need to get the most amount of damage. Some of them have a pry-arm, which means it can actually be upgraded to something completely different, but that is a high-level captain thing that I don't even have access to right now, so I can't really talk about it, other than that it's probably going to cost a lot of materials and a lot of time to get there. Next is kind of an area where a lot of people just don't quite get it lined up right, and there's certain elements of it that they don't even know exist. So Stigmatas. Stigmatas are basically the gear equipment for your given Valkyrie. So in a lot of RPGs, you think of like armor and stuff like that. This is the equivalent of. So anywho, you have 3 Stigmatas. You have the top, the middle, and the bottom, and each one of them basically gives different buffs. So that's why you want to look on the character name screen at equipment to make your decisions based around these suggestions. So you click on swap and you pick the appropriate stigmata that you want to use, and you click on equip. You'll see on the left hand side the comparative stats, whether they're going up, they're going down, and exactly what skills you're going to get by equipping that stigmata. It's best practice to match your elemental type or physical type with the appropriate stigmata in order to you basically have them complement each other, as opposed to they don't help each other. So if you have a lightning empress doing lightning damage, equipping stigmata that buffs physical damage is not going to help anybody out. Don't do that. The numbers on the right hand side here give you an impression of how good that stigmata can be, but it doesn't mean how good it is for that specific Valkyrja. So again, take your time to either pick the ones that were recommended or look carefully over the skills detail. Don't worry about set bonuses yet, and don't worry about affixes yet. Just care mostly on the individual level. Then, once you've made your pick of who you're going to equip, similar to with weapons, you're going to want to enhance them to increase their current level. And then once they're at maximum level for that star rating, basically, you want to upgrade it. Hopefully you have sufficient materials, and as you can see here, I don't, so I can't upgrade it, but basically upgrade it. And the objective is to try and get them as high starting rate as value. That makes it to provide the most amount of buffs. Now this is a common trait across all three layers, top, middle, and bottom. You pick which one seems appropriate. It even tells you sometimes where the top pick is. Set them up. So it's good to try and get sets. So as you can see, I have Darwin top and Darwin middle here, and that gives me a set bonus here for 2 pieces. Unfortunately, I don't have the 3rd piece, so I don't get this extra bonus here. The thing that a lot of people don't get, like most people understand the set concept, right? You put 2 of the same set and you're going to get something out of it. You can always look at what the set bonuses are on any given stigmata by clicking on them. But the thing that everybody misses is what's called affixes. Affixes are basically extra stats on your stigmata. You can look at them by clicking on the affixes here, and if you do not see affixes at all, that means there is none at all. But don't worry, we can fix that by clicking on Refine. So this is a layer a lot of people just don't even know exists. Here you'll see that I have 1 wafer affix. The terminology that I chose is a little weird. And basically I have 1 here that's giving me activated skills cost 2.34 less SP. That's kind of cool. It's just a free extra stat change that's beneficial. You can click re-roll here, so I can change what this is. So it's like re-enchanting it, another more MMO friendly term. Then there is this specific item here called Crystal Flash Tank. You get that through some of the open world stuff. Just straight up adds another wafer tier, and you can have a maximum of 2. You can do that if you have, like, let's say a really good attribute here and you have 1 to unlock. But because these are super rare, what you can actually do is when you have a single wafer affix, you can try your hand at re-rolling it. So in other words, changing it. And sometimes on a re-roll from 1, you might get 2. Let's, see a gander, see what happens. No luck. But on a re-roll, you can see kind of the generic score value of the current attribute versus what the new one is. Usually if it's lower, it's not better. But you have to read over what this attribute is and make sure you kind of understand what you're changing. So you can choose to just roll again. You can choose to keep the current affix, or you can choose to apply the new one, or you can basically choose to cancel. But you still had to have paid for those rerolls. It just means I don't want to really do anything. So let's try a couple more times here. Usually doesn't cost a lot to do the reroll, but this might be where you get a little more damage. So in this case here, dual pistols and lance wielders get more attack power. It's not who I have equipped here. I have this on Lightning Empress, so she's a sword one. Cannon and scythe deal more attack damage. Not really that good for me. Roll it again. So as you can see, it just randomly picks. No luck on getting that second affix though, but it can be done. Anywho, keep the old affix and we'll move on. You can do this for all 3 of your stigmatas. So in other words, for all of your stigmatas, for each one of your Valks, you have another layer of ways to boost your attributes by just a little bit. But once you get to that endgame stuff, it's those little bits. That min-maxing element is what kind of starts putting you out of that tier of an intermediary player into endgame, or even pushing you as a newer player up into that intermediary capabilities. So, like I said, a lot of people just don't even know that that's there. And then you have skills. Now, skills are a little bit self-explanatory. You have Your primary attack, you have a ultimate attack, sorry, special attack, ultimate, basic, evade bonuses, passives, and leaders. By clicking on any one of these, you'll see what skill it is exactly, gives you exact details of it, when the next level up is, and then when you've leveled up your character, you click on it and you click on level up and pay the appropriate fee. Usually cost gold coins, and sometimes there are material items that you need to trade in. Those kind of cross looking like ones, those are the ones. At very early level, it's very trivial. You won't even notice it hitting your pocketbook based on the amount of gold pieces you got coming in. But at higher level, or if you have a high level captain, like I'm 76, and I get a brand new Valk at level 1 and I boost her up to like 70 something, leveling these skills up adds up very, 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 very quickly and will make you go broke. I have spent millions of my coins to try and upgrade a Valk from 1 to 70. So at high levels, it gets harder to do. So you just kind of watch that. I've also ran out of those skill materials needed to do the upgrades. So watch out for that. But otherwise at the, the 40, 50, 60 tier mark, you won't really notice it too much. It's only once I got to the 70 section. It hurt. It hurt. So that's skills. It's pretty straightforward. Just come in here and upgrade those skills whenever you can. You put a couple of levels on because you've been playing with your Valk a lot, or you feed her a bunch of chips, XP chips. Come in here, keep those skills up as best you can. Now, we got a couple other Valks in here that have different subsections. So, the first one is augmented cores. You'll see this little cube here on the Valkyrie symbol and has a little circle here. These are basically, they take the same character and they gives it like an alternative mode. Alters some of the abilities around, buffs them, and it kind of gives them a different role. There are a couple things you need to do in order to get the augmented cores, basically. One, you need to buy these fragment cores. These you get from the shop. We'll talk about that pretty soon. You need to have the right amount of them. Your Valkyrja needs to be at the correct level, and your Valkyrja also must be at the correct rating. So if, for example, this specific Branya was still an A-class one, I would need to acquire enough fragments to push her up to the S-class and meet this minimum condition in order to upgrade the core, basically. The thing that's important to note, however, is that just upgrading the core only gives you small boosts. But once you reach core 4-star, as you can see here, it becomes a whole new character. So you gotta have to put a little bit of work in, get a lot of these core pieces, level up the character a lot, and then it changes to a completely different character. In most cases, that completely different character is actually significantly better than its original counterpart. But still, and in some of them cases, you actually have the ability to do a trial stage. So you can see what that change is compared to the original Branya in this case. The other alternative is the SP versions. I don't entirely remember what the SP stands for, not too important, but unlike the augmented core versions, where you have to do a whole lot of rigmarole to get the alternate version of this character, this is just a standard character who's an alternate version of another character, or a very different version of it. But all you really get out of it is as their ratings increase. So as you can see, this version of Teresa, or Starlit Astrologos, is a S rank, 2 stars. Once I get enough fragments and push her up to double S, when you click on the SP button here, you'll see that she currently has this Gates of Mastery because she's S-class, and then double S is going to get 6 Stems of Heaven, which is basically just another buff. So in other words, as they go up in their rating, they get even more buffed. But there's really no like extra work you have to do in it. Just need to collect enough fragments and get their ratings up. They're just alternate versions with some super cool powers. So there's like this Teresa, and I have this version of Yae Sakura, who mine's still only even an A class, so there's lots of room for improvement. And usually when you get them to triple S, like they'd be rocking pretty good. Okay. So that is pretty much like everything within the character screen. Next up, we've got equipment. Now, equipment, there's not much in here that really needs a lot of explaining. It's where you can go and see, in this case, all the different weapons you have access to, who they're equipped on. If they're not equipped, you can enhance them and upgrade them, all as if you were in the Valkyrja page. As you can see, some of them have a little lock icon. That means I can never really accidentally sell them or break them down, or salvage them rather, that's the term. And you can see which ones are currently not being used by anybody, so the extra junk essentially. You can salvage items in here, so you click on salvage and it by default picks anything that isn't locked and isn't equipped. So that's all there really is here. And you basically pay a small fee of some coins and you basically get like upgrade materials and in this case mithril, which is like another type of currency. Salvage, boom, that's how you convert unnecessary and extra junk items into useful material. Same concept applies to Stigmata. You will see all the Stigmata that you have equipped. It doesn't really organize them too well in terms of top, middle, bottom, but it organizes them based on the set. So in other words, you can see this is Elizabeth Bathory, and you'll see all the same sets here. And it also sorts them by level and by star rating. So again, you can do the same thing. You can do salvage, pick the junky ones you have excess of, and then see what you get for them. You can even get rid of some of your high level ones, which turn into these stigma resonances, which are extremely valuable currency. But again, like these are really powerful stigmata. You might not want to be sacrificing these unless they're like duplicates. So you got to be very, very, very cognizant of what you're choosing to do with those. Some of them just give you other crafting materials, but like, do you want to sacrifice a unique stigmata for the materials? Maybe if you're really desperate, but I just advise being patient and hanging on to your good stigmatas. Oh, my throat's getting dry. You can sort and you can sell the extra junk. Oh, that didn't work. All right. So that's what's in weapon and stigmata. It's pretty self-explanatory other than forge. We'll talk about that soon though. Okay, so materials. This is where a lot of hidden stuff is. Under material supplies, this is where you're going to find your stamina potions and your Captain XP chips. These are like XP, not XP boosters, but they boost the XP your Captain gets as you just play the game. As you can see, I've accrued quite a few of them. I got to start using some of them. If you got them, use them. Like a lot of the times when you start a new mission, it'll say, do you want to use one of these? Yeah, use it. And then play the game for a little while and get a bunch of extra XP. That'll keep your Captain level high. Basic is mostly just various currencies that you have acquired. It's not much in here to really worry about. Forging is all the crafting materials that you've accumulated. There's not much you can do in here other than with regards to these Honkai shards. So as you can see, it says 1 of 3. Well, it means you need 3 of those Honkai shards in order to craft it into a full Honkai cube. So these are a little harder to come by, and that's why the Honkai cubes are also very hard to come by. And then event is more event-centric items listed here. Often ones are permanent ones, like some of these like costume outfit coupons, and then some of them are like the kitchen pass, which is going to be expiring in 6 hours. So it's worth checking in here now and then to see if you have any items in here that are going to expire soon. And something like this, for example, gives 30 stamina and it expires in 45 days though. So it will eventually expire, but I can use it before then. Still, it's good to know, especially if you do some events and you get rewarded with some items. They're probably also in here. So have a look. Last but not least is fragments. Again, this is another fairly self-explanatory section. It just shows you of all the fragments you've collected, how many of them you got. There's really nothing you can do with them here, but it just shows you the count so you can see how much you got. But in most cases, you never really need to come in here because anywhere where you need to care about this, it's usually displayed there. So if you need to know how many fragments you need for a certain character's rating upgrade, it usually shows you right in the Valkyrja page where you would click to upgrade their rating. So it's just listed there anyway. And that's it for equipment. Again, it's mostly self-explanatory. The most important things are under supplies, and then lastly, events. So as earlier, we bought the friendship supply crates. This is where you would go to crack them. And then as you can see, just a whole bunch of stuff. Some fragments, some XP chips, a little bit of money, and a little bit of upgrade materials. Just for spending a currency that I just accumulated by using my friends. Okay, we're nearing our completion here. We have the elf section. Now elves are something you get, I think, at level 50. And they are like another little team member on your team who just autonomously flies around and attacks things, gives you a little healing from time to time, that sort of thing. They're an extra pair of hands to do some damage. You basically will go through a mission in order to get your very first one, and then after that you will acquire the fragments like you would with any of the Valkyrja, except through elf gachas and other specific supply crates. They're a little harder to acquire. The first one is kind of easy because you can get you can do expeditions to get pieces for them, and then you can also buy pieces for some of them in the shop. And then for some of the other ones that are a little rarer, like this one here, the Book of Fuxi, so far the only place I've seen it was in the supply drop. So it's very, very hard to get. But anywho, once you've gotten Alpha unlocked, this is where you would go to level them up, similar to your Valkyries, but they don't acquire XP through mission completion and missions. You have to feed them XP chips. And they take a fair few XP chips, to be honest, compared to the Valkyries. So this is where a lot of your XP chips could end up going. Don't have to invest a lot in these early levels. It's a little bit more of the min-maxing icing on top for that mid to late tier player. Same with their skills. As they go up in levels, they go up in their skill levels. These definitely cost a lot more gold, and they definitely cost a lot more of the advanced skill material. So be a little bit forewarned about that. And then last but not least, there's like a little story dialogue. I think most of these are like in Japanese or Chinese, so it might not be too helpful. And that's about it. So really it's just pick it, level it, give it some skills. And that's elf section. Next up we have the supply section. Now this is where we start hitting the mines again, because as you would probably guess, this is also where a lot of the microtransactions are tucked away in. But one thing I have noticed is not very in your face about it. When you go onto the supplies, you know you're trudging in that area. However, the shop section is super important. The supply section, there are ways around not like this isn't even where you actually spend money. This is where you spend your crystals, and that's why it was super important to be doing your story missions and the bonus objectives to acquire crystals through those completions, as well as doing your Dirac C and Q-Singularis challenge missions, because you get a whole bunch of crystals there, and here is where you would be spending a majority of your crystals, or at least you should be. You really shouldn't be doing revives in a mission. If you do a revive in a mission, just bail out next time, bro. Just bail out and then try it again. It's cheaper to use energy and start the mission again than it is to waste, I think it's 30 crystals for a revive. Anywho, and then recharge that's pretty much where all of the micros are. So you know you're stepping into that field when you go there. Anywho, shop section though, that is very very important because it is one area where it amalgamates all the different shops from all the different parts of this game into one area, including some that are not even accessible elsewhere. For example, logistics terminal. This just changes daily, and it's just a bunch of fragments and items you can buy for various different types of currencies that you have accumulated. And you basically just get all of these by playing the game, completing missions, doing events, etc., etc. So basically you just kind of scroll through each one of these and you check what they're selling for what kind of currency. Armada stuff. Again, you just do the Armada commissions and contributions and SimBattles. You'll accrue these, and you can buy any of these materials. Event shop. These are centric around the events that are ongoing at the time. There's usually links to the shop within those events in the event panel, but you can also access them here. You can see what currencies you got. You can see what items you can buy and what you bought already. Task shop, where you buy your bounties, basically, where you can get more time swirl passes for buying those bounties. Battle arsenal, this is where you spend these gold pins. As you can see, there are some fragments in here. For example, this specific version of Teresa and this specific version of Yae Sakura, Dark Bolt Jonin. So as you can see, just by playing the game plenty, you accrue enough of these. You buy the fragments. You can only get so many per week though, but you can just get a new Valkyrja unlocked, and then you can continue to accrue the fragments and then increase their rating. You can also get very valuable upgrade and crafting based materials. You can also get a random bounty task here. You can get money tasks, and these items here are for the Stigmata wafers affixes basically. So this is how you get all of that stuff. War Treasury. This is for the Memorial Arena. This is where you can get a lot of S-class Valkyries that are only accessible through the Memorial Arena vendor, basically, like through the shop here or through supply crates. So you can get, like, for example, Phoenix fragments, Fuhua, or you can get the Lightning Empress fragments here. You can get Molotov Cherry, which is one of the Vodka Twins characters, all just from here. However, you will get a fair few of these ancient willpowers by doing well in Memorial Arena, but you can only buy so many fragments per week. So it slows you down. Basically, do your Memorial Arenas, get a bunch of these, pick one that you want to work on, and just keep maxing out. Buy all 6 of them, and then once it's sold out, you can choose maybe to buy another one from a different character, or just save them. Save them until you've gotten enough of all the fragments for the Valkyrja that you're looking for. In this example, I'm building up towards Night Moonbeam Kiana, and I have 60 currently. As you can see, I've sold out for the week. Well, once I get, I think, the next 20 of them, so that's like at least 4 weeks worth of work at 6 pop, then I'll have enough to get her. So I just keep saving up my ancient willpowers, buying the fragments until I get her, and then after that, probably going to work on acquiring Cherry Molotov next. Either that or maybe Violet Executioner, but I don't have any of hers, so I might as well work on this one. I'm already 8 in, right? Additionally, you can buy these ancient willpowers for some of your mithril and some of your asterite, which are both common resources you get by playing the game, completing events, completing frankly anything, and are a common reward in supply drops as you use them. So you'll acquire a lot of that stuff quickly. So what you can do is you can spend a bunch of these to get some more of this ancient willpower. You can do up to 70 of them per month, and you'll get a pile of this stuff. So then that way there, you'll have lots to buy your fragments. And as you can see, it sells the advanced skill material and twin crystals here as well. So it's just another location where you can buy these. These are a little harder to come by. They're very valuable for equipment and Stigmata XP. And then same thing with these skills. You're going to chew these up real quick in the late game. So having another means to acquire these as needed, it's good to be prepared for. Asterite shop, again, primarily focused around the Asterite items, and you can get various fragments here. You can get Honkai shards here, but it requires these AE Imaginon items. And then this is also where you buy the cores for the augmented cores. So you can only buy so many of them per week. They cost a little penny worth of your materials, but this is definitely one of the ways to doing it. The other way of getting these is by doing the expeditions and story missions. You need to check the rewards, see if that's what's here, but this is one of the quicker ways of doing it. You can also buy some of the other lower tier Valkyrja's fragments here. They're pretty expensive, so it's not really worth it, but let's say you really like this version of Flame Sakimata Yai Sakuro and you want to just get the last dozen or so fragments you need. You know what, if you got the Asterites, just go ahead and buy them. And then additionally, this is another location where you can buy a lot of the high-end crafting materials. So it's worth having. They're a little expensive, but having more means to get more of these like phase shifter things, I go through these incredibly fast. Well, having more means to get them is pretty important. We're almost done. We have the Mithril shop, same general concept, another means to getting a lot of the various items in here for the Mithrils that you'll acquire. You get a lot of this stuff fairly quickly. Coin shop, again, more materials, spending your coin. I really don't recommend spending any of your coin in here unless you absolutely have to. It's just so expensive for just a few things. It's not really worth it, and these gold coin monies will disappear real quick later on, so I don't really recommend spending it here unless you absolutely have to. Check any other location you can first to see if instead of spending it here. Co-op shop. So co-op shop here, whenever you play co-op missions, you'll be rewarded with some co-op points and these spirit jades, which are also only co-op only rewards. Again, more stuff for you to be able to get a hold of, and more ways for you to be able to get a hold of some of the items you need, including the very, very rare Honkai shards. It needs quite a few points for it. 100 of these Jade Spirits and 5,000 tokens. That's a lot, but these are hard to get, and the cubes are super valuable for high-end weapon upgrades. Now the exchange shop is a little bit complicated. As I showed earlier, you can salvage high-end Stigmatas for these Stigma Resonance, the red tokens here. Well, as you can see, you buy high-end Stigmata for 6,000 of these. That basically equals 6 high-end Stigmatas to be salvaged to get one of these. It's not a good trade-off, but you know what? If you spend a lot of crystals getting a focused supply drop, and you get several duplicates of a high-end Stigmata, the exact same one, same tier, so top or bottom or middle. Let's say you get 3 tops, the exact same one, and you're like, I don't need that. You can trade a couple of those in for these. You do that a few times. Also, I think when you complete all your adventure quests in the open world, you'll also get a little bit here, which is why I have kind of an odd number. So that adds up, but it's a lot slower to do. The blue ones, weapon resonance, same concept. Very high-end weapons can be salvaged and broken down into these, and then you can trade for these very specific weapons in here for a 4-to-1 ratio, basically. It's not really worth it unless you have a lot of duplicates. That's just how it works. Okay, where are we? Right, so we were talking about the exchange shop here. So yeah, the trade-in ratios are not great, but if you got a lot of excess or you really desperately want something, you can weigh the pros and cons to yourself. Oh, and you can choose to spend 1,000 asterite to refresh it. You get so many attempts. It refreshes daily, and I think these attempts refresh daily, maybe weekly. I don't know, I never bother, really. Still good to know. Master Shop. So way earlier on we talked about the Sensei Cadet system. This is where you acquire your Sensei points, and this is where you spend it. And this is where you can get access to more high-end crafting and upgrading materials, time swirls, booster tickets. Booster tickets can be used to skip adventure tasks and just automatically complete them. You can get some gachas. So let's see here, Swallowtail, Phantasm, that's Sealy, Blueberry Blitz, and Rita Stalker Phantom. You can get a unique skin for Valkyrie Pledge Teresa. You can get full-on Honkai cubes for quite a few points, right? It's like value 12,000 is now 6,000. Like 6,000 points is a lot. Anywho, a couple decorations for your dorm and a unique frame, basically. Lastly in here, see, last, we have the dorm shop. So same as in the dorm, and you clicked on shop there, you got your dorm tickets. You spend them on mid-low tier Valk gachas, basically, for fragments, and really, realistically, getting these skill materials is the best thing to save for, as well as the dorm supply cards. So you just kind of build these up by sending them out on doing those errands, basically, and then you just spend them here as needed. I usually just build it up and buy a couple of these things, and that's it. So that's it for supply shop. Again, super important area. Lots and lots and lots of stuff in here where you spend most of the resources you acquire. Not all, but most. Next up, we're going to talk about the supply drops. So in the supply drops, there are a couple different types that you will come across. Let's start with the basic one, the dorm supply drop. On the left-hand side, you can choose between Valkyrja or equipment. Valkyrja means that you're going to get 2 items in one drop. You're going to get 2 items, and you have a small chance at a Valkyrja player card. Translation, it is the whole Valkyrja unlock. Again, it is very low chance to get that one. Otherwise, you can get fragments for some of them. You need enough fragments to unlock a Valkyrja or to upgrade a Valkyrja's rating. Otherwise, you're just going to get random items. You can get Asterite, Mithril, various enhancement and crafting materials. A lot of different stuff for you to get out of there. It talks about getting a guaranteed S rank after X amount of drops. To be honest, you gotta do a lot of drops for that, and it's not really worth pursuing that, because like unless you're gonna whale it up, whip out your CC and drop a lot of money on that many drops to guarantee it, it's not really worth it. There is more sane ways of acquiring most of your Valks. And it also says that S ranks that are not owned are higher drop rates. Here's the catch. In the dorm one specifically, you're still rolling against all the available Valks that can be acquired. So even if the ones that you don't have are slightly elevated, you still have to roll against like 30 Valkyries. It's not good odds. Really, this is kind of like, as you can see here, I have some dorm supply cards. I got them for cheap because I spent some stuff in the shop. Not real money, just whatever stuff I had. And it was more or less a free gimme. As you can see, I got this card, and instead of the Valk, I get fragments for it because I already had that version of May. And I got some chips for it. So if you got these cards, just use them. Otherwise, save your crystals. I'll show you what you want to save your crystals for over these Valks. So see here, I got a B-class Valk. This is like the intro version of May. So anywho, even for 200 crystals, it's not really worth it. It's worth saving your crystals for the other drops, which we'll talk about in a sec. Then we're going to talk about the equipment. Now the equipment drops are the same thing. You're rolling against all possible equipment. Odds of you getting a specific weapon or a specific stigmata, or even like any of the Stigmatas you're hoping for. It's just really, 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 really low. With the equipment, at least if you do the 10 pack drop, it guarantees you a 4-star, which means a good weapon or Stigmata. But again, you have no control over who it is you're going to get. So these are kind of like the I got too many crystals. Who has too many crystals? I got too many crystals and I just want to rip something. Again, I don't really recommend it. Save it for the other things. A little bit of patience can go a long way. Next up, you'll find, you can find, you're not always guaranteed, event-based supply drops. In this specific case, you can see it is Summer Paradise alternate, alternate skins, basically, for some Valkyrjas. So you buy one supply, which drops one item for 100 crystals, and you have a small chance at automatically ripping one of these skins for one of these Valkyrja. On the left hand side here, you can see that it builds up these boxes here. So if you do enough drops, you get guaranteed one of these boxes that guarantees any one of these items. So if you absolutely desperately really want one of these, rip it 30 times if you got enough crystals for it. Get it 30 times and then get your guaranteed drop. And then you get one. Maybe you'll get lucky and pull it earlier. Maybe you'll get someone else's. You still got to do the rest of them. But just the same, this is event based. It's only here for so long and then it's gone again. And you might see other similar ones. For example, a couple of days ago, we had holy weapons. So some very hard to acquire, very high-end weapons were accessible through special drops like this. Next, you're going to find the next most common one, which is called the expansion. Sometimes we'll find other ones listed here called targeted or might have other names, but you'll find other types of ones here that often target one or two specific Valkyrja battle suits. These are the supply drops you should be targeting. If you want a specific Valkyrja battle suit, be patient and wait for it to come to the appropriate expansion or focused supply drops, because they have a much higher chance to drop there. And yes, if you are cray, you can do 97 drops, which means you got to do this pretty much 100 and this 7 times, and you are guaranteed to get that character. But that's a lot of crystals, and that means a lot of ching. It's not even reasonable to play that amount. Anywho, again, best chances of getting it a specific Valkyrja is battlesuit is through the expansion and focused drops here. Talking about the focused supply drops, this is where your best chances of getting your master level, your best possible weapons and Stigmatas for specific Valkyrjas in here. They are not very clear about which Valkyrja this supply drop is focusing on, but with a little bit of research, you'll find out the exact weapon you're going to get is called Magstorm. When you click on it, it shows you who it's best on, Lightning Empress. Then if you look at the Stigmatas that are likely to happen, so in this case Ishikawa Goemon, you click on it and let's see, this one doesn't have a specific best for, so this is very likely to be focused on Lightning Empress May. Not Hersha Thunder May, Lightning Empress May. And then there's also a B one. Now, in most cases, you can guess which Valkyrja it is focused for based on the weapon. This weapon here looks very familiar to Cherry Molotov, which is one of the vodka twins, like the girls with the one horn and the tail. This is one of her weapons. Click on it, you Sleeping Beauty, who's it best for? This Valkyrja. So it's going to give you a strong indication of who it's for. So these Nobel Stigmatas are best for Molotov Cherry. So the theme you can see here is for focused supply drop B, This is focused for Molotov Cherry. If you want her gear set, the best ones you can get, this is where you drop your crystals. So it depends on what you're looking for, and these don't always line up. Sometimes they do. As an example, you can get Lightning Empress May from the current expansion drop. If you want this May, this is the best place to do it. Now this May is also acquirable through Memorial Arena Supply, buying her fragments there. So if you don't want to spend crystals, you don't have to. But again, if you want it a little quicker, this is the best way to get her. And if you want to get her best gear, these focus supply drops currently line up with her. And you can tell because when you click on Magstone, it says this is who it is best for. This applies a lot. Like these often line up together like that. So whenever they release like a new battle suit and they put it in the expansion drop, often, and I mean very often, it pairs up exactly with that one. The B1 doesn't always, but often one of them will line up with whoever is available in these expansions or other special drops. Look a little bit before you leap, but lots of the times they line up that way, and these are the best way to get the best weapons and Stigmatas for those Valkyrjas. You want a specific Valkyrja, you either got to work for it, or you wait for it to come in the appropriate supply drop, and then you go ham as you're willing to. Whether it's like a little piece of bacon jerky, or like, give me the whole rump roast, I want my goddamn Herrscher Thunder levels. And then, alright, let's say you got really lucky and you pull your Valkyrja, now you want to get that weapon, you want to get that Stigmata, move on to spending your crystals in the focus section. That way there you have the highest possible chances of getting those items. So as you can see, I'm like saving some supply tickets that I've acquired because very soon the Herrscher Thunder is supposed to drop. So I'm going to save up some crystals, pull a few times here, and if I'm lucky and pull her, then I will use my supply cards to do a few pulls from focused, get the appropriate gear. Again, patience is the key to really getting ahead of it. The dorm ones are not likely to give it to you, but if you really just don't care and you really want to keep trying, then you can just have at it. So that's supply. Recharge is where your micros live. This is also the exact same place as limited time offers here. Exactly the same. Just the only difference when you go back, it takes you here instead of there. Anywho, we've talked about this. The hot stuff in here, you might find free things or extremely cheap stuff. Bundles, recommended and permanent, useful stuff in here like the friendship supply crates and other free things that could be located in here. Or if you happen to have gotten some of the coins, what are they called again? B-chip coins. This is also where you'll find little cheap things that you can buy to burn off some of the excess stuff. You'll find some of the fancier skins listed in here for the more expensive special outfit coupons, and you can also find just basic color alterations for skins in here, whether you spend it in crystals or in a whole bunch of outfit coupons. As you can see, it takes a fair bit more of those, but these are a little easier to acquire. So anywho, that's where all the micros are hidden in mostly. And last but not least, but kind of important too, we have the Foundry. Now the Foundry is a little bit confusing just looking in on it on its own. You can craft a whole lot of stuff. You can craft a ton of weapons. You can craft a ton of Stigmatas for both, all of the above, top, middle, and back. Pri-Arm, that's for level 81 plus captains, so I haven't even been able to get access to this, but this is where you can craft some ultra powerful weapons. Bounty equipment is crafting items based on the fragments you acquire from completing those bounties. The way it works is that you will upon completing the bounties, you will often get either these green common level fragments or these blue level fragments, and you kind of have to work your way up. So what you do is, if you're looking to build this thing, the Brarius Pry, it's a cannon for Bronya. If that's what you're looking for, I'm gonna just use it as an example. If you want to build this, you're gonna need, let's see, you're gonna need this item, which you can craft by 150 of these AE Maginons, and you're gonna need to craft Brarius Pry Spirit, which by clicking on these things you can often just kind of shortcut your way through a lot of it. But in order to craft this, you're going to need these blue fragments, and you're going to need this specific Raider Missiles weapon, which, to be honest, I think is fairly easy to acquire, but just the same, you require it. And you're going to require Aether Fuel, which you also get from bounties. So it kind of emphasizes that doing the bounty marks is very important to acquiring enough of all the materials needed to do a lot of the crafted weapons. And these crafted weapons can be quite powerful, okay? And it might take you a long time before you're able to get the good weapons you need from your supply drops, essentially, or by whatever other means. It could be a long time. So this economic or craftable level weapon is very, very, very adequate. So anyway, and in order to craft these blue fragments, you need some green fragments. You'll also have noticed that there was the plus symbol here. This means you need to sacrifice a couple other fragments of any other kind, but of the appropriate level. So some common ones, basically. So I had to give up 3 of them here, and I need, in this case, I would need 2 more of these fragments, and I would need 40 more of these Aether Fuels. I've crafted a few items lately, so I have very little of it, and it also hasn't been the reset for the week yet, so I haven't been able to go do some bounties in a little while. There is the basic equipment. These are also, like, pretty acceptable weapons. They're not the best, but like they can do some good work for you. These usually just cost a bunch of these AE Maginons, and same for crafting weapons applies to Stigmatas, right? You need to craft certain blue fragments in order to basically craft the appropriate other fragments, working towards the final fragment, which working towards the final finished product, right? So you need, and then on top of that, you need some of the other Stigmatas that you can also craft with the SS Maginons. So it goes in a loop. You need to do your bounties, and you need to do a lot of the other event type stuff to acquire the other materials you need to craft kind of like the low level into the higher level into the final item. So that's how sort of the forge works in general. It's a little bit of work and a little bit of rigmarole to get around it, but it's an easy way to get a pretty solid specific weapon for specific Valkyrja. I find that navigating the specific menu is a little bit cumbersome. So if you're looking to craft something for a specific Valkyrja, it's a lot easier to go through the Valkyrja page. So just a quick reminder, that means going through Valkyrja, going to the name, going to equipment, and then just clicking on get for the specific item you want to craft. So if I want this specific sword, source, foundry, and then it takes me right to that one. And then from here, you kind of navigate a little bit within this iffy foundry UI. And then last but not least, on these tabs here, you can accomplish the same thing by going specified Valkyrja and then picking the one you want, and it shows you all the items that they can use. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the best choices or the best ones. It just makes it so that if I want a weapon for my Harsher of Reason, these are all the possibilities I could craft. Which one is the best one to craft? Well, that would be best accomplished by going through the Valkyrja page, going to my specific Valkyrja I want, and looking In this case here, it suggests a Brarius Pry. So you can sort of see where I'm going with that. You can go by specified Valkyrias, but it doesn't specify, it doesn't filter it down enough. But just the same, it's an option to look through. So there's a section within the game that I had meant to cover that I kind of omitted, or not omitted, but forgot to cover earlier. And that's some of the little things that you might miss on setting up your teams. Whether you're selecting a team for a new mission or whether you're setting up predetermined teams. There's a couple of ways to approach it. So I'm going to go into one of the story missions here real quick. Turn off the storyline character here. When you go to prepare, there's a handful of things going on this screen here. Actually, considering I don't have my elf listed in here, is not an ideal example to work with. Let me backtrack a little bit here, pick something else. Yeah, here we go. This is more appropriate. So, in the top left-hand corner, you're going to have your elf. This is which one you can pick to deploy with your team. They offer a little bit of extra damage, a little bit of extra support, but often you want to try and pair it up with the appropriate team that you're going for. So, for example, this little girl here, Jingwei's Wings, she's heal and support fire-based. Prefer to put her with a fire-based team or an elemental-based team. The other one I have here, Blood Embrace, she does physical damage and shield break and does physical damage. So it's better to match them with a physical-based team. So what do I mean by those different types of teams? Well, at every mission, you get to pick which Valkyries, 3 Valkyries most of the time. Sometimes you're limited to 1, and sometimes in certain missions you will be forced to use certain Valkyries or choose from certain Valkyries. So when you're picking your team, otherwise, you pick all 3 of them, or you can set up a team, preset teams. This can take a few minutes to put things together once you kind of have a little more XP under your belt playing the game, and you have a little bit more understanding of the dynamics between having some damage dealers, a primary and a secondary damage dealer, and then a support character. So often once you get to that point, a little bit more understanding, you're going to want to start building a team here. So you basically pick who goes on the team in what spot. The first person is the leader, and they're going to provide the bonus to the team, and then which elf you want. And then you can select the team by doing a quick edit, and boom, here you go. What's important is the leadership skill down here. This is based on the leader of this team. So in this case here, it's my Vermilion Knight Eclipse, Himiko. She provides the team's switch attacks to gain 20% more total damage multiplier, and the team's ultimate attacks gain 20% total damage multiplier, and a team with 3 different battlesuit types gains 30% fire damage. So you can see how that synchronizes with Durandal Valkyrja Gloria, who's fire damage based, and Azure Empiria Fuhua, who's also fire based. So it's a whole fire based team, and because they're all different battle suits, we have a mecha, we have quantum, and we have psychic, that they are also going to benefit from 30% more fire damage. Team synchronization, team synergy, that's the word we're looking for. On the right hand side here is where you can choose a friend. In most cases, depending on the mission type, that friend will, their leader Valkyrja will pop in at the boss fight and help fight the boss. Other times, they won't appear at all. There are certain missions that they just don't come. That's how it's designed. But you still get their leader bonus. So I'll choose my Sensei here, Snooky, and they are providing me with this Cursed Blessing friend bonus. Team gains 14% crit rate. If team consists of members of 3 different types, as I said here, I have 3 different types, team deals 21% more physical damage. So it's specifying physical damage, which means it is not ideal for my fire-based team here. So if I change it to this team here, which I have customized to be a physical based damage. So I have Stygian Nymph Sealy here, who does physical damage. Starlit Astrologos Teresa, physical damage. And Bright Knight Excelsius Durandal, also physical damage. Now they all sync up with the buff. Funnily enough, this friend I chose and the character that I also have my leader are the one and the same, so they provide the exact same bonus. I'm fairly sure that they do not stack because that would be OP as heck, but in the event that this is the case, you're always capable of just dragging and dropping and switching it around, now gaining even more bonuses from a different leader. So it's good to have a look at the different dynamics that you can have in your team. It's also why you want to be picking a friend every single time. Actually, sorry, in 95% of the cases time, you want to pick a friend. It gives you that friendship bonus, it gives you a little bit of friend XP, which increases your level, which gives you a few little tweaks that helps you use your friend more frequently and do a little bit more damage, that sort of thing. And then they also might pop in and help. So it's important. It's kind of why it's important 95% of the time to bring them in. The only 5% of the time you don't bring it in is if you are attempting to accomplish certain side objectives for your mission. You might not want to bring a friend in, and you might want to pick a low level character to accomplish it. Because let's say, for example, I go into hard mode and I'm just starting to clear hard, and I'm like, I need to do a 25 hit combo. Well, if I roll in here at a level 66 suggested mission with a bunch of level 75, 76 super high tier Valkyrjas, I ain't likely going to get 25 hit combo because everything going to be dead so fast. So here's where you may not want to bring in a friend because you don't want them to just come in and murder everything before you can accomplish your side objectives. Or you might want to bring in a lower level character so that way you can a little more easily accomplish these with that low level character. You bring that low level character in, pow 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 25 times, swap them out for a high level character, proceed to dispense justice and destruction at your will. So that's how I like to tackle doing the hard mode or supreme modes when there are some certain side objectives that are a little trickier to do. Don't bring that friend and pick a low level character so that way they can accomplish those a little easier, and then you just bust out your heavy damage dealer to finish up and take care of the rest of the mission real quick and real easy. So for the most part, that pretty much covers almost everything I could possibly impart as someone who's been playing Honkai Impact for like 7 months or so. There's a lot that's been covered here, so I'll probably have to break this up in a couple of different videos, or you can just sit down and watch a 2.5 hour video of me rambling about this game. Anyway, I'm not really much of a YouTube content creator, but if this was helpful or you'll learn a few things out of this, give it a little bit of a thumbs up and drop a comment down below. That would be really cool. Otherwise, have fun and take care, be safe.